Chelsea Sherrod here with our NESN Patriots beat writer Dakota Randall at practice on Thursday. And Dakota, I mean, what a week it's been for Mac Jones. First, he's dealing with the back injury, and then he misses practice today because of an illness. What have you heard about what this illness can be, and what does this mean for his status on Sunday?
Yeah, you mentioned it's been a pretty strange week for Mac Jones. I mean, I wrote stories yesterday that I said this is case closed. We're done talking about the back injury. He said he's playing. He was a full participant in practice. Let's move on. And then we get to practice today, and we find out he's not playing because of an illness. I don't really know what to make about that. There was a report from Tom Pelissero of NFL Network that it's not COVID related and that it was a stomach bug for Mac Jones. Again, you take the Patriots at their word. The timing is certainly curious. You wonder if there's a maintenance day or something, what's going on behind the scenes. But it's definitely interesting. It leads you to believe that maybe there's something else going on with Mac Jones. And as far as his availability for this weekend, I'm not ready to doubt it yet. But if he can't go, obviously it falls on Brian Hoyer. And he's an okay backup. I think he could do the job against the Steelers, but he's certainly not Mac Jones. So it's now become something that Patriots fans have to worry about again when we thought we were done with it.
Absolutely. It's definitely a big question mark that we have now heading into this week 2 matchup. And I mean, you just kind of alluded to it, but can the Patriots beat the Steelers with Brian Hoyer?
I think they can. I think the Steelers are very limited on offense. Mitch Trubisky is a below-average quarterback, especially if the Patriots can prevent him from scrambling around like he did when he was with the Bears in 2018 when he faced them. But at the end of the day, the Steelers are going to be without T.J. Watt, who tore his pectoral in the season opener. He's one of the best defensive players in all of football. We'll see about Najee Harris, the running back. It sounds like he's going to play, but he might be limited. But still, I think it's going to be a challenge for the Patriots. But I think because the Steelers are so limited on offense that I have to believe the Patriots could hang with them in that regard. The offense did not look good against the Miami Dolphins, so I do have my doubts still to some degree. But I do think, even if Brian Hoyer is the one that has to take quarterback for the Patriots, I still think they can pull it off, but it becomes much more difficult.
Okay, Brian Hoyer with a win then. Speaking of the offense, the Patriots offense, let's talk about the O-line. Lots of miscommunications, a bunch of mistakes on Sunday in their loss against the Dolphins. But T.J. Watt now in the IR. That's a big assignment that they won't have on Sunday. But they've also got guys like Alex Highsmith, who sacked Joe Burrow 3 times. He had 4 QB hits. What does this mean for this O-line, this Patriots O-line come Sunday?
Well, you mentioned Highsmith. He's a good player. I wonder about how someone like Cam Hayward in the middle of the line does against the Patriots offensive line. I'm not worried about David Andrews. I'm still worried a little bit about Cole Strange. I think he had a mostly good debut. I wonder how he holds up against bigger bodies. Mike Nwenu, I think, is mostly solid at right guard. But you mentioned it with T.J. Watt being out. That's a huge help to Isaiah Wynn, who is, to put it mildly, an inconsistent player at right tackle now. And so obviously it's a much easier assignment for him now not having to deal with T.J. Watt. But I think the player you have to look at for the Patriots is Trent Brown. On the left side, he was not very good in the game against the Dolphins. It looked like he was at fault for that strip sack on Mac Jones that resulted in a touchdown. And also just, reading the tea leaves and hearing his tone, he was really short in his media availability. He declined to speak to reporters afterward. There's been some rumblings about how happy he might or might not be with the Patriots. So I think he continues to be the one that I'm really watching on the offensive line.
Yeah, and rewatching the tape during that play with Trent Brown, you could tell he knew that he made a mistake in that moment. He's definitely looking to bounce back in week 2. Okay, Dakota, big picture now. The Patriots 0-1. You think that Brian Hoyer can pull out a win if he is the next man up for the Patriots in week 2. How big is it for the Patriots to get a win against the Steelers as far as their schedule is concerned moving forward?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, even though I think this, if you start talking about the playoffs in week 2, you by definition are getting ahead of yourself. But I think this is a sneaky must-win game for the Patriots because regardless of what you think about them, you're being generous if you say that they should win against the Baltimore Ravens next week and that they should beat the Green Bay Packers on the road. I mean, at best, if they win this game against the Steelers, you have to assume that maybe they go 1-3, which is what they went last year. But I think it's on the table for them to go 0-4, given how bad they looked against the Dolphins. And these are 4 difficult opponents. And I was just looking at it earlier. The history of 0-4 teams making the playoffs, only 1 ever has done it. That's the 2002 San Diego Chargers. And as far as teams that started 1-3 making the playoffs, 44 have done it all time, including the 2021 Patriots, which is worth mentioning. But I think this is a must-win game for the Patriots in some regards. And last year they started 1-3, but they were kind of bailed out by a soft middle portion of the schedule. Faced a lot of middling teams, a lot of other teams that were dealing with injuries and quarterback issues. I'm not sure they're those kind of cupcakes in this run for the Patriots. They have a run where they face the Lions, the Browns, the Bears, and the Jets. But I could craft arguments for all those teams staying competitive with the Patriots. So I think they got to win this game in Pittsburgh.
Definitely. And for them, just for team morale as well, just to get that first win of the season to get things going. All right, Dakota, thank you so much.
Thanks.